maybe outside of the projected top 5, there's some developmental prospects that, you could bring in and either, they pan out, that could be your quarterback of the future, depending on what happens, or it becomes good draft capital for you, or, being able to package it with picks in the future. Do you see a situation maybe on day 2, early day 3, where you might want to address that?
I will just say this, that there's no position that is off limits going into this draft. I'll just leave it at that.
Ooh, tricky Rick. Oh, man. There are 5 days on the sports calendar, the annual sports calendar, that just give me joy and glee. And one of them is Rick Spielman pre-draft press conference day, always 48 hours before the Vikings draft. Judd, you have sat in many of those. If we could roll that clip again, and for the visual audience, you can always find our ugly, formerly radio faces on Score North YouTube and Purple Daily YouTube. But so Courtney's asking this question. I want you to look at Rick and just see the gears turning. He fades out about 3 words into her question and knows exactly what stock answer he wants to give. All right, here's the clip again.
Maybe outside of the projected top 5, there's some developmental prospects that, you could bring in and either, they pan out, that could be your quarterback of the future, depending on what happens, or it becomes good draft capital for you, or, being able to package it with picks in the future. Do you see a situation maybe on day 2, early day 3, where you might want to address that?
I will just say this, that there's no position that is off limits going into this draft. I'll just leave it at that.
Isn't it great?
Yes.
So there are...
Punter, dude. Punter's in play. He just confirmed.
Oh, and so is kicker.
Punter's in play.
SEC kicker is too. And you know what else is? Long snapper.
Long snappers, yeah.
Oh, so, it's in play. He didn't rule it out. Headline, scorenorth.com.
The Spielman presser, pre-draft presser, a couple days before the draft starts, it's got some, I believe the word is tenets to it. It's always got the same tenets to it. One is the phone is always ringing. Calls are going both ways.
Dude,
the phone is always, the telephone is ringing. That's one thing, okay? The other is there is no position that we won't draft. That's another just absolute consistent.
We could draft any position at any time in any round. You just got to watch.
I think the answer to Courtney's question is actually the stock answer for about 8 to 10 questions.
Yeah, he comes in with 6 answers.
Yes.
And just sort of rotates those answers in with regardless of what the questions are, right?
Right.
By the way, this is Mackey and Judd, and we are gleeful with our executive producer, Declan Goff. We are gleeful to be covering the NFL draft throughout the weekend on the Purple Daily YouTube channel live on Thursday night. It will likely be, according to the Twitter poll I put up last night, my Michael Jordan flu game after my second Pfizer shot, with you guys being like Rodman and who was carrying him? Was it Pippen? I mean, Judd's the Jordan of the show here, so it would be like if Pippen had the flu. And like
Declan thought he was. You've hurt Declan's feelings.
Dude, you're the coup coach. All right.
I would go Steve Kerr. I'm gonna hit the game-winning shot when you need me the most.
I'm telling you, here's your problem, Phil.
I'm invincible outside of that.
Here's your problem, Phil. So the shot is tonight.
The shot is
when's the shot?
The shot is tonight at 5:30 Pacific time, 7:30 Central time.
Oh, boy.
You might have issues in the morning. I think by tomorrow night you're fine. Because I was so I got the shot. Now I got the one and done Johnson & Johnson shot, but I got the shot, and after I got the shot, I felt a little bit off. Not bad, but I felt a little bit off. Like something's weird.
You just pounded those blood clots out too.
I just smoothed them through. Come on, blood clot, good blood clot, good blood clot. Come on, blood clot, get through there. I'm good. Clear. I defibrillated myself. So. Then so I got the shot on a Friday. Saturday morning, I felt awful. And I felt awful like I was getting the flu until about 2:30 or 3. And then after that, it smoothed out. I didn't feel great, but I was fine. So I think you might be fine by the time the draft actually commences.
So I might have to miss out on like our final mock draft shows tomorrow morning. But then I'm gonna take a nap, and then my alarm's gonna go off.
Yep. Yep.
Here we go. Yeah.
Pfizer.
Boys, We're getting a flood of final mock drafts from all the big platforms. We're still waiting on Godfather and Toddfather mock, but I think we should dive into a pretty prominent platform with an interesting spin here.
I want a mock!
All right, this upcoming mock draft from CBSSports.com, which is what teams should do, not what they will do or what CBS projects them to do. It's what they should do.
Did you say CBS?
On CBS. The NFL Draft on CBS. Home of the Masters. Yes. Where the azaleas are blooming.
Yeah.
So this mock draft, this I Want a Mock session is presented by our friends at PXG because you know what? There's going to be a lot of general managers who whiff on Thursday night and are going to have a lot more time to golf in about 9 months from now. And that's where we would direct them to PXG, specifically PXG Minneapolis, which is a golfer's paradise. The Gen 4 golf clubs have landed drivers, fairways, hybrids, irons. These are PXG's flagship clubs. And PXG also has the new 0-11 golf clubs, which is a full line of high-performance clubs, packed with PXG technology and priced a little bit more within reach. PXG Minneapolis in Southdale Center, and find out more at pxg.com/Minneapolis. All right, boys, CBS Sports, CBS, the Masters. They are telling teams what they should do here. And so we're going to see what the Vikings should do, and then we will chime in with what we think the Vikings should do as we collect our thoughts one day before the draft. Trevor Lawrence, number 1 to Jacksonville. They've got the Jets saying that they should draft Justin Fields, number 2. Your guys' thoughts?
I don't know about that one. I don't know about that. Might be a little bit of a reach to be different. Justin Fields is good, and I do think he should go in the top 10. Wilson, though, he's got some attributes, and I could see being convinced to go with him, which I think the majority of mock drafts are. So I would say that CBS is trying to be very different by having Justin Fields now be in a place where I think the consensus is very easily Zach Wilson.
Here's my take on this, all right? And it's flipping a coin whether Zach Wilson or Justin Fields is the guy. I mean, we're all just sitting here projecting, and we'll find out in like 3 or 5 years. But I always get a little suspicious when someone, or in this case, 2 guys, after they're done playing games, when you get into the off-season workouts and the pro days and then the rumors and reports that fly around and the narratives, right? Like during narrative season, when draft position drastically changes. And we've had 3 guys, Mac Jones included. Mac Jones and Zach Wilson were projected really like if you go into the middle of the season, Zach Wilson was sort of, he could be a mid-first round pick, and Mac Jones probably like a second-round pick, and Justin Fields was number 2 overall the entire season, and then he lights it up in the college football playoff, right? Yep. And so after the games are done being played, Justin Fields starts to fall. Zach Wilson skyrockets to 2, and Mac Jones skyrockets to 3. Just feels like a lot of stock being put into things that aren't happening on the field. So that's my
Mac Jones. I agree completely with you on. It feels like Wilson started to pivot about halfway through his college year, though, and started to pick up steam. The Mac Jones one, I just don't get. Like, I don't get that one. And I don't look, I think he's a first-round pick, but if he goes 3rd, I just think San Fran, that strikes me as a potential Trubisky. No, but I like this.
In terms of what they should do, Zach Wilson being on the board, then San Francisco would gleefully pounce on that.
Yeah, no, that's a good one.
Falcons, they say, CBS says they should take Kyle Pitts.
Yeah,
might be the best pick in the draft.
Wow. Bengals should take Christian Darrisaw. The explanation is most would take Sewell in this spot, but I think Darrisaw will be the best tackle in the class. So, all right. That's a take that he has. Maybe he's right. And then Sewell falls to the Dolphins.
Okay.
Who should take him, according to CBS.
Okay.
Lions taking Jamar Chase.
Mm-hmm.
Panthers taking Rashawn Slater.
Broncos
taking.
Okay.
Is it pronounced Jamin Davis, linebacker from Kentucky? Haven't seen him up this high.
Great football name.
Come on.
That's what they should do.
What's the explanation?
Says, I like Davis more than Micah Parsons, which is why he would be my pick. All right, cool. I love it.
How high have you seen Jamon Davis? Jamon Davis.
He'll be a lot higher playing in Denver. I'll tell you that much.
Oh boy. All right. Keep going.
Patrick
Yep,
Surtain
all
to the
right.
Cowboys. But like something like that, I feel like all the mock drafts have been very much the same players in the top 15. Something like that will almost certainly happen, right? Just a guy who's not at all projected to be in the top 15, according to
Yeah,
Kuiper.
but stop for a second. If I'm not mistaken, we have not had Trey Lance taken yet, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, Denver would take Trey Lance.
They got
Also,
Drew Lock.
Mac Jones is not gone either.
Yeah, but I mean, if Trey Lance is there, the Broncos would. Sorry, Dex. All due respect to Drew Lock, I think you can move on from Drew
Also,
Lock.
they would just trade back. If they're not going to take Lance, they would trade back to someone who would, right?
One has the
Anyway.
moves like Drew Lock. My guy.
Okay, Devontae Smith going to the Giants. J.C. Horn going to the Eagles.
Yep.
Caleb Farley to the Chargers.
Lot
And
of
so that means
quarterbacks
we're
here.
sitting here at pick 14. Mac Jones is available. Trey Lance is available. Any number of edge rushers are available. I mean, I would take if it gets to this point, what should the Vikings do? They should take Trey Lance, I think.
Yeah.
Think
So
so?
yes, if they're going to allow Trey Lance to sit there till 14, I take Trey Lance.
And there it is with the 14th pick. CBSSports.com. It's the first time I've seen this. I did not scroll down earlier when I saw this on the interwebs. It says the Vikings should take Trey Lance. Kirk Cousins has a bloated cap number next year, so why not prepare for life after him? Lance could use a year of seasoning, so it makes sense that this would be the pick for the future. So Vikings taking Lance, and then I'm assuming that the Mac Jones then would go to the Patriots in this scenario. All right, boys, your thoughts on that scenario playing out?
I want a mock.
Is that what the Vikings should do?
It's what the Vikings should do. It's what the Vikings won't do, and Trey Lance ain't getting to 14. I don't think these QBs, aside, the only guy that I think if he's not taken by San Fran could free fall, and I don't care, is the Bama kid. Other than that, everybody goes, right? Justin Fields, I'm sorry. I think it's all a smokescreen. I think teams so here's my question. If you're a professional mocker, Phil Mackey and Declan Goff, why do you buy in so hard to the smokescreens? Like, is it because you want to say, well, I talked to 15 GMs and they told me that Justin Fields had a bad big toe that has affected him since he was 3 years old? Like, why do you buy every year the same crap? I mean, I've been covering this draft for ever, it feels like, and every year the same bleep happens, right? Like, why do the mock drafters buy into, oh, Justin Fields, I think he's going to get to 15 now? Like, answer me that question. Don't you at some point in time get your mock draft degree and are like, you're full of crap?
Yeah, I mean, this is the other thing too. Most of these mock drafts are picking at slot, so to speak. Like, they're not doing trades. And when you have this many quarterbacks that are projected to be potential top 15 prospects, you're going to have trades, right? You're going to have teams move up into the top 10. I mean, hell, to get Pat Mahomes, the Chiefs had to move up 15 slots or something, or 17 slots to get up into the top 10 wherever they pick Pat Mahomes.
Yep.
So I think in terms of what the Vikings should do, I think they're planning for three main scenarios. Scenario number one would be if the first 13 picks in front of them are offense heavy, where let's say 5 quarterbacks come off the board early, all 3 of the top wide receivers, 3 offensive tackles, and then Kyle Pitts. Let's say those 12 offensive players come off the board in the first 13 picks. If they're planning for that scenario, then I think defense is the pick at 14 or a trade back. A trade back is always, I would say, likely with Rick Spielman. Because really, are you going to take the 13th guy off the offensive side of your board, or are you going to take the first or second best defensive player off that side of your board? I think the value there would be defense, and that's what the Vikings would do. So that's the one scenario they're planning for. I think the second scenario is if one of those 3 offensive tackles falls, it's probably just I think anyways, it should just be a no-brainer. Whoever their top 3 offensive tackles are, if one of those guys falls to 14, that's a scenario that I'm sure they're planning for. But the third scenario, as laid out on CBSSports.com, CBS, is if one of these quarterbacks falls. I'm sure they've done a bunch of simulations where, okay, guys, I know we need meat and potatoes. We need a left tackle. We need a guard. We need an edge rusher, but what if Trey Lance or Justin Fields falls to us? What do we do? What do you think their answer is to that scenario 24 hours before the draft starts? I think it should be pull the trigger and draft one of those guys. What do you think their answer is to that equation as they have it laid out right now?
I think their answer is this. They need to win now, okay? A quarterback does not help that, not right now. They also don't have a second-round pick. If let's just say, and I don't think it's going to happen, but let's just say Trey Lance or Justin Fields gets to 14, and the Vikings have a chance to pick that player. I think you would have a quarterback-desperate team, i.e. a Washington, who I believe has a second-round pick, who would come up and make you an offer that the Vikings personally would love and would get you that second-round pick back. So I think that's how it would play out. It's fun to talk about potentially taking a Lance or Fields. I personally would do that. But I think you have to weigh, fair or not, the pressure on this administration currently to win immediately. And if you take a quarterback, you are almost saying we're safe. Now, if they've been told behind the scenes, you know what? If you win 6 to 8 games, we don't care. That changes the dynamic. But if they're under the intense pressure that we expect, which is, Mike, you have to get back to the playoffs, I think the scenario is they would trade back, they would get a second-round pick, they would keep a first-round pick, and adjust from there. That's what I think.
And I think, to me, that scenario is something that you talk to the Wilfs about, right? Isn't that part of your planning in the last couple of weeks? Say, all right, guys, listen, we're going to be good employees here. We're going to keep our bosses in the loop and get your feedback. We're going to manage up here, all right? Mark, Ziggy, let's get on a Zoom call here. And let's talk about this. So obviously, to help this year's team, offensive line, defensive line, those are immediate needs and also things that are just good to have, whether you're rebuilding or trying to win. Like, you want great players in the trenches. And so we've mapped out for those two scenarios. But the third scenario we need your blessing on. If Justin Fields or Trey Lance or Mac Jones, but let's say Justin Fields, Trey Lance, if those guys fall to 14, we need your blessing that we can pull the trigger on a quarterback of the future that won't help us potentially at all in 2021. So we might lose a game or two more than we ordinarily would because we're not helping this year's team. Are you guys going to be patient with us and ride this thing out for a 5-year rookie scale contract window, which is the reason why we would draft this quarterback? And if their answer is, well, we really need to be putting eggs in the 2021 basket, then they just would flat out not draft a quarterback, right? Then they would just trade back to save their jobs and to get value for 2021. But I think that would be the wrong answer by ownership. If you have a chance to get a 10-year quarterback, even if it's only like a 40% chance he pans out and there's a 60% bust rate, right? You have to flip that coin sometimes, and the Vikings really don't.
And look at what Green Bay did last year. We all mocked them, right? We all mocked them for taking Jordan Love. And you know what? We might be mocking them a year from now when Aaron Rodgers is still the quarterback there. But they needed a piece last year to win now, right? They needed a piece to help Aaron Rodgers win now. He wanted Justin Jefferson. He obviously wasn't there. They still could have gotten a wide receiver. They didn't make that trade to move up, so they took a quarterback. So they did not get a win now player, and they were on the doorstep of going to the Super Bowl. So I know the Packers, look, we can mock them for that Jordan Love pick, but at the same time, they took a quarterback there when they needed a win-now player to help Rodgers, and it still worked out for them. And Jordan Love could still be their quarterback of the future.
Well, you could argue both ways. You could say it worked out for them and that they were a Super Bowl contender, but you could also say, well, if they would have had just a Justin Jefferson caliber player, they would have won the Super Bowl.
True.
And I still mock them because it is ridiculous when you have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time to draft his replacement when you're in a Super Bowl win-now window.
Yep.
I'm just a closet Packer fan. I just wanted to bring that back to the show.
So I think there's only one way tomorrow that would indicate to us that the Vikings have drastically altered the course and are after a QB. And it would be Lance. I think it would be Lance, Fields, but not Mac Jones. The only way that I think that we would see a seismic shift is if why they have been trying to trade up, which we know that they were, and for all we know they might still be trying to do, Phil, would be to take a QB. So, like, if the quarterback fell to them at 14, I don't have a lot of confidence that they wouldn't trade back and take that guy. If they trade up my initial inclination would be that they're afraid that they're not going to get in on the offensive tackle party. But the other thought process would be, have they definitely decided to be incredibly proactive and let's say try and make a trade with the Dolphins to take Lance or Field? So if they're still trying to trade, that would actually change the dynamic there.
Love it. Love it. We are 1 day away from the NFL draft. Mackey and Judd and Purple Daily are going to be all over it the rest of the week. And you can find our live NFL draft, Vikings draft special on the Purple Daily YouTube channel tomorrow night. And we're just going to hang out. We're going to enjoy a couple of beverages, and we're going to watch the draft play out and speculate along with you guys. And then once the Vikings make their pick, we will quickly transition to Vikings Vent Line right in the middle of our live stream, and we'll welcome people into the show. So, all right, we're gonna take a deep breath and make our final predictions before the NFL draft. Twins can't win a game. We'll see if there's some Twins predictions. Write that down in an accountability session coming up next on Mackey and Judd.